Music is not just about music, but what's so powerful about music is it's about everything else in the world.
My name is Jasper. My pronouns are he, him, and they, them. My major is music industry, and I am a junior.
My name is Hannah Carricker. I am a master's grad student at JMU, and I use they, them pronouns.
I'm John Peterson. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the Associate Director for the School of Music.
When it comes to choosing to major in music, it was definitely my high school director. She's a JMU grad, and she is just the poster child for what you can do with a music degree. And she was just so encouraging about it and really pushed me to make that decision.
Quite honestly, it was my middle school band director. I had so much respect for her, and she ran it a little bit like a drill camp. Like she had such a high expectation for us, and I really respected the way she ran our program. And she was probably one of the only female directors in the county, which was something to be said for especially that time. And I was just so inspired by her. And she talks about, well, I went to Florida State and I got my undergrad and I was a teacher. And I said, well, that's what I'm gonna do.
Like many people, I had a really wonderful middle school teacher. She was the kind of person who you just wanted to be around her because her energy was just so, infectious. In grade 6 or grade 7, she had this day where, we tried out like mouthpieces for different instruments. And the one that I could make a sound on was saxophone, so that's the instrument I chose. When it came time to decide what my path would be, I thought, well, I've loved doing music, for forever. That's what I see myself, being excited about. So I went to university for music.
I identify as a lesbian and non-binary, so that's why I use they, them pronouns. And I think in a sense, it affects everything and also very little at the same time. It affected me a lot as I transitioned into that identity because really up until undergrad, I identified as straight and cisgender. And so that was a really huge personal shift for me to kind of reconcile with who I am. And then secondary to that, how do I want to present myself and exist in a world where I had previously existed in a completely different way and I was perceived in a very different way.
So I came out when I was really young. I was in middle school when I came out, and I had known that I was queer for long before that. But so I had this very interesting dynamic of when I got into high school, I was the lesbian. And so everyone kind of knew that already. And so there was this added dynamic of when I started questioning my gender, it was almost as if that label had already been stuck on me so solidly that it was like kind of hard to get out of those stereotypes.
Identity is all linked together, right? Like I can't separate my gayness from the other aspects of who I am. And it was not a time where it was comfortable to be out, as a gay person. So in high school, I really wasn't out, there was a lot of stigma around anything that could be associated with being gay, and gay was used as a slang, derogatory slang at the time as well. Like if kids didn't like something, they would say that's gay, so there was a lot of like pressure not to be out kind of a thing.
And I try not to focus on that as a huge part of what my career might look like, but I think it's always something to consider, especially in this day and age and what our country is doing right now. I know the first day that Trump took office, they declared that there's only men and women in this country.
And I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
I truly don't know if it's worse to be hated or disliked or just completely erased. How I identify, it affects me deeply, but truly it doesn't affect anyone else around me beyond, could you please use they instead of she or he? I think I didn't really understand the disparity between men and women at a young age. Like I just really never truly understood it. I was always that person that was like, if we need strong guys to carry chairs, I was grabbing stuff. Like I didn't really care about that. I was always playing the hero, and I played make-believe as a kid. Like I didn't really think about that, and I was always trying to push against the status quo or whatever that was set for young ladies at the time.
When you're in high school and middle school, everything feels so big. everything feels like such a big issue. And so when I first came out as queer, my mom was very accepting. My dad had a really rough time coming around to it. And it wasn't that he was outwardly negative or anything like that, but there definitely was an element of him pulling away almost. And he definitely was a little confused on what it all meant and things like that. And he wasn't at first very happy with how out and proud I was about it, because I don't really do things in small increments. It's either on or off. And so I was very, very gay in middle school. And I was very much what people like stereotypically think of. And I think the learning curve was a little steeper than I would have thought it would be. And it was like a year or so of kind of walking on eggshells around each other. In a weird way, it made it a little bit easier when I came out as trans as well, because he had already experienced that. And so when I first came out to him, there was a lot of name correction and pronoun correction, and it felt for a while like it wasn't gonna get better. But over the last, I wanna say 2 years, he's gotten a lot better with it all of a sudden, and we're definitely to a point now that I don't think I would have thought we could have gotten to from where we started.
My mom found out I was gay by snooping on those messaging apps that I was using. One time I had left one open, I'd gone to the bathroom and she looked, and it was clear that I was gay. And so I remember very clearly it was the summer, I came back from the bathroom, was continuing to chat. She came into the computer room and she closed the window and she closed the door and she sat against the door on the ground and she said, John, is there anything you want to tell me? At that moment I knew oh, she knows that I'm gay, so I said, yes, I'm gay. And she said, why are you gay? And I thought for a second. I said, well, why are you straight? And then that was it. That was the end of that conversation. We've never really talked about that moment, since, but she has always been, very supportive and comfortable. On my dad's side, I didn't tell him until I was much older, and I just wasn't sure. I'm not exactly sure what the hesitancy was there, but I guess I wasn't sure how he would react. But he's been nothing but supportive as well. I feel like I'm lucky in that I know that there are people out there who have lost friends and family over the decision to come out, but that isn't my story. When I very first moved here, which was 2014, I lived downtown across from the co-op, and I would walk from home to the music building because it was so close. And people would shout at me as I was walking down the street. They would shout racial slurs, they would shout gay slurs. It certainly didn't make me feel safe, or welcome, and so I left.
I thought so deeply about how I presented, what I did, how I talked, because it elicited a more positive response from people. And so I told myself, you're gonna work so hard and you're gonna do all this and it's gonna feel great because you're gonna get to college and you can relax and everything's going to align and it's all gonna make sense because you've made it. And I realized I hated it. I wanted to be there, but I was miserable every night. And I didn't know why. I really started to ruminate on all of that and just keep telling myself, what about me isn't good enough then? And I was just so uncomfortable where I was in school with my friends that I had, how I looked, and I started to obsess over that. And I started to get really sick, and I developed a very bad eating disorder. I was not taking care of myself, and at the heart of it, I just was trying to disappear from who I was. I just hit a breaking point. I called my parents and I was like, I can't do this. I have to figure something else out. And so I entered a partial hospitalization program. I started to unpack what I really wanted to get back. And it took a really, really long time of both physically coming back and feeling more stable, and then slowly coming back and integrating in my life what I wanted. And music was at the heart of all of that, as corny as that might sound.
I've been socially transitioned for a while now, and when I got to college, there was a lot of steps taken, and now I like go into everything socially transitioned. When I first started college, I was not closeted, but I was dealing with a lot of like, I had to change my name on things. I had to reintroduce myself to a lot of people. But at this point, being a junior, specifically in the School of Music, when you're traveling with the same people for so long, it's nice not having to reintroduce yourself every single time. And it's just so different from high school, because in high school, you're constantly switching around and being with new people. And so it's so much easier in college to transition socially like that. And it's like a weight off your shoulders.
My partner's from West Virginia and is very proud, to be from West Virginia. And when I met him, I came into West Virginia with the same kinds of stereotypes of what West Virginia might be like. But it turns out I just love West Virginia. I love living there. There are pockets of acceptance all around the state, and Shepherdstown, where I live, happens to be one of them. You go down the street and there are pride flags in every single window. It is a place where you can just totally be yourself and not worry at all, and so being gay there is like not an issue, at all. Everybody is very supportive, and it's visibly, supported.
I am paying a lot of attention to mostly where I'm going to live or where I'm going to kind of settle down. And so my family lives in Florida, and they're like, well, are you gonna come back? And there's no way I'm going to teach in Florida. Like in my county, they've been trying to push legislation for years that makes teachers mandatory reporters to parents. If their student is like, hey, I'd like to go by a different name, or hey, I want to use different pronouns.
Show it off official.
Tonight, it's official. Florida's controversial Don't Say Gay bill, as it's known by critics, signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis.
We will make sure that parents can send their kids to school to get an education, not an indoctrination.
Bill sparking protests for weeks. Critics argue it will marginalize LGBTQ families and prevent schools from helping students in need.
I would never put my students in that kind of position, and if it's a fireable offense, why would I take a job there if I'm just going to get fired for trying to stick up for kids?
I think that if I were to go back to my younger self and tell my younger self what's happening, now in my life, I think I would have a hard time believing that was the case, because it was just so isolating. But I think that's what I would try to do, is in a comforting way as possible, say like, it will get better, and if you're struggling now, know that that's not always going to be the case.
I'd have to carry the same advice that was given to me with a little bit of a clause that no one is coming to save you, that no one can give you what you want, but in the same way, you have everything within yourself to get what you need. And sometimes it starts with, what do I just need right now? What's going to help me right now? And sometimes the day-to-day is so hard, but if that's what you have, then that's all you need. And from there, you can build anything that you want.